All right, would like to call to order the October 24th, 2024 Town of Somerville Design Review Board agenda. First order of business would be approval of the minutes. Or if there's any edits, would someone like to make a motion?
Motion for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. First item under old business is 309 North Maple. If you all would go ahead and come up and state your name and role in the project. And we have one recusal with Candy Pratt. Thank you.
So I'll quickly go over my staff report. This project received, final DRB approval on November 17th of 2022. There were some changes made to the building plans that were submitted for construction for building 1. And I apologize, in my staff report, I put that the reduction of the building depth was from 55 to 75. It should be 75 to 55. There were some other changes that I went over in my staff report, but I'll let the design professional go over those. But staff feels that the changes, while they were appropriate, could not be approved at a staff level, and that is why the project is back before the board.
We're back with a few things on building 1 and building 3. On building 1, the So the top was the original plan, then the DRB, through the bottom is the permitting.
Right, thank you for that. So effectively, the design intent didn't change. It's really just been updated, same materials, generally the same massing. And what's seen from Maple is very, very similar to what was done before. Okay. Any questions of the applicant? Any questions on this side? Is there a motion for approval?
Make a motion for approval as
Just a
submitted.
second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye. Any opposed? Thank you very much. Next item is 606 North Gum, redevelopment of property for Seacoast Church. And if the applicant could come forward, and I'll be recusing on this one.
Okay, so this project last came before you for preliminary review on August 22nd of this year. They are requesting final today. Per the previous staff comments, again, some of the landscape buffer areas do not meet ordinance requirements, but the board has the ability to approve a design at their discretion with a lesser width. Sod should be kept as far off of the critical root zone of trees as possible, and staff would suggest using mulch in lieu of sod. The DRB will need to approve the placement of a storage container on the property at the rear of the building. Per previous discussions, at the last meeting, the board discussed the ability to defer the final design of a mural to screen the container to staff as long as they set the general parameters for the mural, meaning the location of the mural and its general content.
Hello, hello, testing. That sounds maybe a bit better, huh? Okay, back to you. I'm Kirsten Abrahamson, the architect on this project. Betsy Ellington is up there in that virtual corner of the screen. She's with Seaman Whiteside, and she's going to kick us off with the site. But I will just say that we've reviewed this. We really haven't initiated any changes since our last presentation, so we're not calling attention to any of that, but we do have renderings that will be new to you. So Betsy, take it away.
Hi everyone, Betsy Ellingson with Seaman Whiteside. Hope you can hear me. Had a little problem with the audio. As Kirsten mentioned, we really haven't done any changes to the plan. There is a couple of extra screen segments up close to the front where there are some electrical panels. But other than that, the site plan remains basically unchanged from the last one you saw. So I'm happy to answer any questions. I believe Kirsten has some samples, a sample of the composite material for the screen fence. And other than that, happy to take your questions.
Maybe it might be the best. That's the front elevation. I showed you the samples of the materials last time. We have two different cementitious siding samples. The main building, which is the existing building, will be covered in gray, and that addition on the front will be white. And the fencing that Betsy is referencing is shown here. And the example I showed you last time in the cedar. And so we have the screening for the shipping container as viewed from 78. The same material is being used on the mechanical screening and on the front elevation. One screening for the shipping container. I'd be thinking that's just not working. It's sort of like when you have a dropped call and you keep talking. Okay. Okay, is that better? Yeah. Do you want me to repeat? No. Okay, great. The screen that was screening the shipping container is the one that was proposed as a possible mural. And we're looking at that as something that would be in the future. This panelized system can be removed or it can be painted upon. So it's really something that Seacoast can develop a program around and come to staff to review. Any questions? Would you like me to show the samples again?
I don't. Anyone want to see samples? I don't think so. I think we understand this. Considering that nothing has changed. The preliminaries. So I think unless there's any comments or questions, we're ready to take a vote. Is there a motion?
Motion for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye for final approval. All those against? The ayes have it.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Appreciate you.
Thank you all so much.
All right, next item is Shoemaker Amenity Building. New construction of an amenity building for Shoemaker subdivision, final approval.
So staff report is pretty brief. They came before you previously for preliminary approval in August. They are now asking for final approval. Per the board's request, the applicant has provided more detailed architectural information. Staff does not have any further comments for the applicant at this time.
Floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Justin Busey with Housing Design Matters, architect on the small little amenity that we have here. So it's a small structure that houses our pool equipment and the restroom requirements for the pool area. Now the structure's we have an covered outdoor space, and then I think we've worked through and added on the side as we've gone through these meetings. The exterior is a lap siding, cementitious material with a white with black green. Yeah, very Charleston. So I think in this packet, we've also included our photometrics that we were waiting on as well. Was there any other questions on the actual building itself?
Any changes that have been made? to the
No
building?
changes whatsoever. I mean, the last version, we rotated the building and opened it up and added more covered space. But since then, no, it was more of the material and having the architect here.
Ready, awesome.
Good looking building.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Any changes of significance on site landscape? It's
No,
really
sir.
just,
No changes at all.
okay, really just here for final approval then.
Yes, sir.
Right. Any further discussion? Someone like to make a motion for final approval?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second,
I'll second.
for discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Next is 209 West Fifth North Street demolition and new construction of Eaton Dental Associates Office.
So this submittal is their first DRB meeting. The project has gone to TRC. I included the TRC comments below. Excuse me. Let's see. So engineering let them know that the driveway relocation will require SCDOT approval. We're going to be working with them on tree protection and mitigation. This building that they are requesting will be back from the road, so a variance will be required from the Board of Zoning Appeals to allow the parking to be located in the front of the building and for the frontage build-out percentage. To clarify, DRB will also have to approve the location of the building and parking in addition to BZA. the buffer, the landscaping buffer is not being met on some parts of the property, so that will have to be approved. And bike parking should be included. It should be noticed that the area of disturbance is greater than an acre, which will require an MS4 permit. Grading and drainage plans will need to be provided prior to requesting preliminary approval from DRB. We went over the tree protection information. Let's see, and due to SCDOT widening Highway 78, there is a lack of an existing sidewalk on North Pine as well. Staff would suggest that DRB require an alternate plan for staff approval prior to either permitting or prior to CO issuance for the lack of the sidewalk. Elevation drawings will be required prior to submitting for preliminary approval, and then photometric and material samples are also required prior to final DRB approval.
All right, so you're here for a conceptual review, right? All right, the floor is yours. Good.
As you know, you've seen me before. We kind of pivoted here. This was originally what we wanted to do. And we were, because of the variance with the mixed commercial residential, having some of the storefront on the highway there. Tim advised us to go, the remodel route. So we did go that route for almost 3 years now. And it's posed several challenges. The main one is the uncertainty of what's going to happen with that road there. And I've talked with many people at the SCDOT, and they all have different ideas of what's going to happen there, and if there's going to be where it's going to be expanded to. I've heard into the middle of my current waiting room. I've heard in front of the bushes. So that has been a glitch from the beginning. Not to mention a lot of other issues. The building is older. It's from the late 60s. There's going to be some challenges to expand it to reach the capacity that I need it to be, and to continue to serve my patients at the new standard of care that has obviously changed in the last 60 years. There's just different housings that need to be in place for CBCT and things like that my current building just is not gonna support. So there are a lot of reasons, but those are some of the reasons there. I think cost-wise, I'm looking at a remodel expansion versus a new build. I mean, honestly, they're not that far off, and I could have so much more opportunity by doing the new build. So that's kind of one reason why we pivoted and are proposing for conceptual review a new build now in the rear of the building, which I have the property to do. Eventually, the current building would be demoed and there would be parking put there. And this would also allow me to continue to work and serve my patients, keep my staff members employed seamlessly until I transition into the new building, versus having to shut down my business or buy another parcel of land in Somerville and change, which I don't want to do. So that's the reasons, some of the reasons. Okay, I'm gonna let Abby take the
Sure.
floor here.
So as far as the comments that were brought up, we've been receiving feedback from SCDOT. We received preliminary
Could you
feedback on,
Introduce yourself.
I'm sorry, I'm Abby Ranson. I'm the project engineer for this project. We received SCDOT feedback for the driveway location in September, and we are working with them on, an encroachment permit and all that stuff later. The tree protection, we have been receiving feedback from Justin Carpenter. We have about a 22% encroachment into that. I think it's a 32-inch gum onto the upper right side of the screen. And he said that would most likely be able to be approved at staff level. So we'll be working with him on that. As far as BZA goes, we'll be planning to submit to that in November for the December meeting about the building frontage and the parking location. For planning and zoning review, the 8-foot landscape buffer. I know that there's about a 6 to 7 foot buffer that's there right now. And we would be providing landscaping in that area. I know that it's 8 feet, but I know the parking is kind of an issue for this building, especially it being 2-story and there being lots more patients that they can take on. So we were just kind of trying to prioritize that by minimizing the landscape buffer just a bit. But of course, that needs y'all's approval. Bike parking, we will add to the plans. We will be, like I said, working with Justin Carpenter on what exactly needs to be noted in the plans for the tree protection area. I know that the mulch instead of sod is one of the comments, and we'll be adding that to the plans. And the sidewalk issue, we will be working with DOT and Dorchester County on their widening plans for connecting to whatever future sidewalk that they are proposing. We'll work on that on our plans as that moves forward. So that's all from me.
This is our architect.
Hey, guys, good afternoon. Lawsuit Night with LFK Architects. We don't have anything to show you, but we're excited to come back next time with some height scale mass models. Of course, we're going to look at trying to be sensitive to the context. It's a 2-story building. We're thinking something more with sloped roof lines versus a parapet. Some sort of porch feature on the front that's usable space. It kind of shades us from the south. And we're excited to come back and show you that. But right now, just all in our heads. We'll get it to you on paper next presentation.
Sure. David Tomlin, the landscape architect for the project. I've been with Rhett and Tiffany now for the 3 years of us exhausting ourselves. And that's the only thing other than any questions on landscape that I'd like to speak on right now. Because we started out with Tim with several different variations, and I know we brought y'all several different variations. And watching a client test the waters both on cost and hardship of trying to stay at their existing site and keep a business running and then expand. I think it's always been in their direction to meet the direction of Somerville and the ordinance. And I think as we've gone through this 3-year reiteration is really a reflection on that, not wanting to deviate, but at some point going, we've exhausted, we think we have a hardship, and that's where we're going. Obviously, we have to go in front of the variance committee and prove that this is a special condition that does have a hardship to receive the variance. And we're coming in front of y'all to start that process as well. So from a landscape standpoint, we are able to provide a little bit more of the required landscape buffers. We do have some issues in the back where, and with right at the next door neighbors where some of their existing flumes and concrete encroach into our landscape buffers. So we're going to be working through those if we can be allowed to proceed. So thank you. If you have any questions, be happy to answer.
Thank you for that presentation. I agree. I think you have a hardship. Typically, we want the building up on the front. I understand that that is very challenging. And I think last time you were here, maybe you even said you can't do some of the things you need to do in the building because the lighting is so poor and you actually have to go outside.
Right.
We don't want that. I think y'all have done everything that was reasonable of you to do. And I think you have the right team in place. I think they're going to do a good job. I think you've met the hardship requirements. Like I said, normally we want the building up front, but I understand. I think this is a unique situation and we want to keep you here. And we want to do the best we can to help you. I only have one point of clarity. You have a gravel parking lot, is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
In the back. Yes.
So the handicap section, that first section up against the building, that will be asphalt, just to meet ADA requirements. But other than that, it will be gravel.
Has to be
excuse me.
pervious.
Sure. Just a couple some details. I haven't seen the sweet gum. I'd like to go by and take a look at it, but in theory, if it makes more sense to remove the sweet gum and plant live oaks or something else along that street, which starts to create this tree canopy, I think that's something that should at least be looked at. I sitting here right now without having that sweet gum in my mind, I think I would support that. So you'd have my support for that. The reduced landscape buffer, I agree. I still think you can put the same amount of landscaping in there. So reducing it a couple feet is not going to make a difference to us, but if it helps you, that works for me. And you mentioned the sidewalk. That I would just ask, you said DOT and the county, just add town staff into that mix. But that's me. And keep in mind, we don't vote at conceptual, but that's my opinion, but interested in hearing the opinions of the rest of the board. Bill?
I agree with you. No comment.
All right, Peter?
I actually have a different opinion. I think because of the previous visits to us and the buildings that you show us and the development and all the discussion we had, you created a very nice street frontage, which is in the best interest of the town and the community. I understand this is in the best interest of your business. So my big question is, what would you do at the front besides just minimal landscaping, cars, it's gonna look like a parking lot. Is there something that you thought of that you can still make it pedestrian friendly, still have the building in the back, but give us some kind of buffer up there? Give us something that makes it pedestrian friendly, Somerville friendly versus just a parking lot with headlights flashing across the street.
Well, something we've requested in the past in similar situations is a low wall or in this case, we don't know what the building looks like yet. Maybe it's better if it were a fence, but some kind of permanent visual screen. Maybe that would accomplish.
And I think if you looked at some of the other business, I'm sure you have, you showed us photographs. But there are huge green buffers at some of those locations. And not just a parking lot, within the minimum border of the street. And I'm not saying you create that huge landscape buffer, but I think there are devices out there, architectural devices, walls, landscape, pedestrian friendly, benches, I don't know. But we lost what I believe we were getting from the previous submittals, and that was a nice streetscape. And this doesn't replace that.
Well, part of it may be, think of the streetscape is also along Pine Street. So maybe think about, are the street trees, we could start to, master plan, and maybe somehow we get some on the other side of the street. And if we only got maybe 3 or 4 crepe myrtles in there, maybe those become live oaks and canopy trees that long-term have a better effect. Maybe that would help as well. Candy? Any comments, Candy?
I think they've done. I think you've done a remarkable job. And I think it's still going to be a challenge until you see exactly what does happen to the road. You're probably going to have to make adjustments around it, but it's likely your best solution. Be able to stay there and to be able to work and your staff to work and patients to come, so.
And I think along those lines, if like, let's say the DOT comes back and says, I want to make it wider.
Yeah,
If we
and they
build a
may.
building there,
Mhm.
like that's my worst nightmare. Now it's coming through my building, my brand new remodeled building. So this way I can
Make some adjustments,
or
yeah.
I can,
Mhm.
surrender some property if needs be.
Mhm.
And I think this parking lot will kind of mirror the one that's right at Oscar's. So
Yeah.
it'll be just more parking lot, just like Oscar's.
Yeah,
has.
because they definitely have a parking lot right there by you.
Greenery they
I
have.
wouldn't say Oscars
That's
is,
not
Yeah.
a good argument.
yeah,
It's not-
that's not the Somerville's
necessarily.
vision.
It'll continue to extend there, so.
Hopefully the designers
I
know
think they're grandfathered.
what we're trying to.
Yeah, they're
accomplish.
definitely grandfathered.
Like greenery they
Yeah,
had, or-
they
I'll have to
bushes
look
and a
at it.
sign,
Yeah,
and we would have a nice sign.
Yeah.
Well, I like the idea of that wall. I think that's worth studying. When you mentioned it, I think that can kind of carry the intent and start to create
Right.
something that's good reflection.
The wall is like, it's just like a hip wall or
It's low, just enough to really.
just keep pedestrians from like walking into.
Well, the intent is so you don't see a bunch of bumpers and headlights. So it's 3 to 4 feet tall, somewhere in there, and you can still see the business. It screens the parking lot a little bit.
Okay.
And as long as we're just throwing out, you can make a portico right in the center as an entry, as a pedestrian entryway,
Maybe, yeah.
and, have a sidewalk. I don't know what that does to your parking. Create a grand entrance from Fifth, possibly.
All about a grand entrance. I mean, that sounds good to me.
No,
78.
well, you're not gonna spend a lot of money. A wall is not a lot of money.
The wall's okay, but you don't know where to put the entrance.
I think, your property, again, you teased us. You teased us for a year and a half with,
I've been teased for 3 years.
with wonderful architecture and wonderful solution and contribution to the city. And, all of a sudden, I understand why you're doing it. We lost that. So I think if you can bring that back along with what you have to do for your business, I think that would be a home run.
Justin, anything?
Yeah. I guess my first question is what happens if you aren't granted the variance? The reason why I ask is because you don't have a hardship, in my opinion, and as somebody who does hardships for a living and variances for a living, I don't think you're subject to unique situations that don't apply to anybody else.
To be honest with you, we would probably limp along with what we had until we were able to move to a different location, which may or may not be in Somerville.
Gotcha. Okay. And I hate that.
I do too.
But the state
'Cause I
law
live somewhere
specifically
within
requires
10 years.
variances to be unique to that property. And specifically states that there's nothing else that can be done to that property.
Right.
Not your use, any
Right.
use.
Yeah, I understand.
So I just want to be very clear. Again, I'm not on the Board of Zoning Appeals here, but I run them in other towns.
Right.
Going back to my earlier comments last time you were here, I'd still like to see that sidewalk go down North Pine and at least connect to your sidewalk in front of your building for 2 reasons. 1, walkability, which we mentioned. 2, also SCDOT has a really bad reputation of allowing sidewalks that don't go anywhere. I've had to fight them personally for that. Across North Pine Street is a guardrail. What, if I remember correctly, Becca, correct me if I'm wrong, but your staff report stated that that should be a condition of a CO. Is SCDOT willing to take that on? They're not in my town.
No, I mean, that would be something that the applicant would have to do.
I just don't want to. But SCDOT won't allow it in the right of way. A sidewalk to nowhere is the. phrase
They'd
always
have
use.
purview over where it went if it's subject to their right of way, but I highly doubt that they would install it just for a development, a single development.
Okay.
It'll be installed by somebody, it just may not be DOT. It might. be-
Right, the onus would probably fall on the applicant if it was conditioned as such
Yeah.
to be completed before they reopened their building.
Okay, and that's kind of what I was saying is SCDOT has told me I can't put a sidewalk in their right of way that doesn't go anywhere.
I've seen it go both ways.
Okay. Just
Depending
bring that
on
up.
where it is and it's situational, but we can explore that. That may be something that we need to discuss internally, and try and get a conversation started with SCDOT. That way we're not chasing our tails and the applicant isn't, as well.
Yeah, I think talking to Wade Grooms would go a long way, depending on how you catch them. Other than that, the only other question I have is, has any thought been paid? I think we talked about it. It would be difficult. I think you want to, I remember you saying Oscars was not interested, but cross access between the parking lots. Has that been explored?
You mean like being able to go from?
Oscars into yours and yours and Oscars.
I don't see how that's possible with how much parking we are going, we're squeezing out every single spot we're gonna need. And honestly, we're right under the, if we ever did have the staff to fill all that up, they would use, and the patients would use most of those slots. So I doubt it would be possible.
Is there a surplus of parking or no? Did someone?
They got 29 spots and 4,000 feet of building. So that's not an excess. amount.
No, we don't have a surplus at all. At all.
That's one for 200 would get you 20. So it's not a huge amount. The other idea, and take it if you want, it's up to you, but the drive aisles seem unnaturally large. And if you made them one way, you could squeeze in a little bit. You'd probably lose a space or two, but it would help with the buffer issue along North Pine Street. Maybe even like a foot on either side. I think it was like 22, 26 or something like that on the. Yeah, they varied north and it's 22.1 going east-west on the plan and 24.5 going north-south on the plan, so.
Well, they need a minimum of 23 to go two-way.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. If you go one way and you have circular.
And to back out. You gotta
Yeah.
maintain 20, at least 22 back out of a perpendicular space.
For two-way,
I mean,
23.
if we're just talking conceptual, I bet you've already done it, but to me, it's the parking lot seems like it could, there's 7 spaces at the top, and instead of having spaces along the front, you could have spaces along the side of Oscars. I don't know if you've studied that, but it seems like the parking lot orientation could be a little bit different. Still get you the same, and might clean up the island in the middle, because it's a little awkward to circulate right now. And I think the parking lot islands in the center are really supposed to be 9 feet wide, and they're shown at 5.
Showing what?
They're shown at 5.
5 feet?
Yep.
Wide?
Yep.
Can't park in 5 feet.
No, the island. Yeah.
Oh, the islands.
And islands are
9 feet.
5. Those are supposed to both be 9.
It's supposed to be 9.
We can explore that. I think that, like you said, it's about the yield of the parking lots and the numbers, but we'll definitely look at that.
I mean, looking at to me, you got a lot of landscaping on Plan South up against that building. I'd rather lose some of that on that and put it on the Pine Street side if we had to pick, because it's 8 feet on the south side. It's only 6'9" on the other. Might even be able to get that 5 feet landscape island back up to 9. Just a thought.
They need their back wall to be 10 feet off the property line.
But that building.
The building wall needs to be minimum 10 feet or you start running into code issues.
Well, I'm talking about the landscaping adjacent to the drive aisle.
Talking about next to Oscars.
Yes.
Oh, Oscar's landscape? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get into the code issue, particularly since the architect hasn't designed it yet. Just thought, that's all I got.
Yeah, I think studying the parking lot a little bit harder, and again, maybe we've done it, but just rotating some of that stuff, it might free up a lot of stuff, and maybe it loses you 2 spaces or something. I know they're all precious, but it's worth looking at and weighing the positives and negatives of it. Any other comments or any questions for us?
I have a crazy off the wall question. Speaking of live oaks, I have a beautiful mature live oak that I'm at the corner of my property. You'll see up there. I'm assuming it's going to be meet its demise when the road comes through there. Do you guys ever move trees?
Yeah.
I would be happy to have that live oak on my new property and off of the middle of the highway there.
It's very difficult, very expensive.
I mean, it's a beautiful tree. I would hate to see it meet its demise. Speaking along the tree, it's the best tree on the lot.
We've done it before and it takes about 10 years for it to pay off. Before they come back and you can see it.
All right.
I moved one probably 20 years ago, and it was $1,000 an inch 20 years ago. So it's probably $50,000-$60,000 to move the tree.
Jeez.
At least, I would think. You want to do it?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
It's a lot.
Oh, I'm not doing it.
A lot of fiddling.
Throwing that out there for you.
But
I'm not-
is it on your property?
It's in the right of way.
Oh, it's in the right of way.
The
Okay.
DOT will take it.
I wouldn't try to move it. I think headaches.
Yeah.
You'd be better off just planting a nice live oak specimen.
Well, that might go to study the live oak canopy along the streets for new trees. So if this road's ever widened, at least you've got some live oaks on your property or close to it that over time will, fill in. Any other comments or questions for us or? All right, well, we don't make a vote, but I think you got a lot of good comments. I think you're on the right track. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, take care. All right, 515 West Boundary Street, Gehagen Park Storage Building.
So this project went before council as the property is zoned public land over in Gehagen Park and the associated facilities around there for the park. This is the first DRB meeting, but they are requesting final approval. My understanding of the building is that it's prefabricated and will be similar to other buildings used for storage for the same use out in Gehagen Park.
Sure. And just to get you started, it appears that this building can't really be seen from the public rights of way.
No, sir.
Street,
No.
hidden behind some woods.
Yes, sir.
Looks like. Okay. I don't want to steal your thunder, but you go ahead if you have anything you want.
I'm just here to answer any questions. My name is Sean Metters, project manager with the Parks and Recs Division.
Okay.
Yes, the building's going to be the same color as the existing metal building that's already there.
Same color, same materials,
Basically all the same. Yep.
metal build. Does anyone have any questions of the applicant?
I drive by there 3 times a week and you cannot see it.
No, you can't see it at all.
Not,
Okay.
Even if you were in there where the
never see it.
playground restroom is, you can't see it.
Dustin, anything?
Just curious, because I'm looking at the aerial. Is it going to be the tan color or the green color? Not that it matters.
So the roof is stays green, just like the roof, the existing metal roof now on the other building, and it's like a yellowish green color.
Gotcha. Cool.
Side.
I think we ought to approve.
All right, are you asking for a motion? Motion for approval,
Second.
seconded by Justin. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate you.
All right. I do not have anything under miscellaneous.
All right, so record time. Is there a motion for dismissal?
So moved.
Second.
Second by Candy, all say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Y'all so much. And Becca, could you clarify